What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Saturdays in the SEC. We're on episode 147. This week's preview is Florida and Oklahoma. You notice we've got a new software that we're using. We're back on Spotify, still on YouTube. Going to try and figure out how to get us on the Apple Podcasts and all the other streaming platforms. So we're moving up in the world, man. We're moving up. We're still active on TikTok. We're getting things going. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun, but let's jump in. 2025 Florida football. Jumping off, probably maybe the best quarterback in the SEC. I personally think it's Lenore Sellers. Lagway would be my number two. As a fan, obviously we know I'm a Nuts Bus supporter all the way, but realistically, I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league. I think it's Lenore Sellers at number one and DJ Lagway at number two. So there's an argument that could be made there that he's the number one. He has been dealing with some injuries, from last year. Still kind of dealing with it. They're doing some rehab stuff still, and they were kind of taking it easy on him a little bit and doing some load management basically in the off season and working his way up into now the spring or the fall camp and going into the season. So is he going to be able to sustain the little bit of pain that he's going to have with it? Is he going to be able to take the hits and be able to run and do everything he needs to do and stay healthy throughout the whole entire season? I think that's one of the big question marks on the season. If he can do that, I think Florida's ceiling is really high. They have a lot of young talent on the offensive side of the ball, but they've also got some proven talent. Jaden Ball, he's a sophomore, but he was a really good running back, or he's their running back. He's a really good running back. Had a really good season last year as a freshman. They expect him to take the next step up. This is a kid you need to watch out for. This is a kid that potentially could be on some award watch list towards the end of the year. Might be one of the better backs in the SEC. Legitimately, this kid is really good. Jaden Ball, number 13. Remember that name because he's going to put up some numbers this year. I really believe it. They went out and got J. Michael Sturdivant from UCLA. Played at UCLA and Cal. He's got some experience, a wide receiver. Didn't really have great talent around him. Didn't have a great quarterback last year, so some of his production wasn't there really. But I still think this is a fantastic get for Florida in the transfer portal. They got Dallas Wilson, who's expected to come in and make an immediate impact as a true freshman. Had a really, really big spring game for them, which, like we talk about spring games all the time. It is what it is. It's a spring game. You can't really put too much weight in it, but he had an absolute day. Had like 10 catches, 190-something yards, a touchdown or two in their spring game, so he went nuts. They got another Vernell Brown, the third. He's a legacy player. He's highly, highly recruited by just about everybody in the country. Had offers from Ohio State, I believe Alabama, Georgia, and he ended up choosing Florida. Dallas Wilson was also pretty much committed to Oregon the whole time, and then towards the end he decided to stay home and go to Florida. Then you got Aiden Mizell, who is an absolute burner. He's a young guy as well. And then Eugene Wilson returns. Obviously, you expect him to be the staple back or the staple receiver in that room. And then Tank Hawkins. Big thing on their offense though is they're keeping pretty much returning all the offensive linemen and no transfers on the offensive line. You got Austin Barber, Neja Harris, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, and Bryce Lovett all going to make up that offensive line unit. So I expect their offense to be hitting on all cylinders, to be completely honest with you. They got guys that are used to each other. They've got some camaraderie there, not really having to put a whole lot of new faces with each other like some of the other teams we've been covering in the last few weeks. So I expect the offense to really not skip a beat. They started making more plays last year and really putting a good football team together and being really competitive the last few weeks last year. So I expect them to build on that. And I don't think the offense is going to be their problem this year as long as DJ Lagway can stay healthy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this feels like the first time in 4 or 5 years where you're going into the offseason for Florida and there's not all these external questions about the program and what the future holds. It just feels so much more steady going into this 2025 season than we've seen probably since 2020, 2021. It's been quite a bit there in Gainesville. So, I mean, you highlight it perfectly. Led by DJ Lagway, his second full year as a starter. I guess technically first full year as a starter, but he did get a good bit of experience under his belt last year, back half of the season. Just really excited about seeing him, being the guy now, full reins. Like I said, one thing too with has a little bit of an injury coming into fall camp, so that's something definitely to keep an eye on. He got hurt in the Georgia game last year with a hamstring injury, so that's something just to keep an eye on. But expecting big things from him this year. Jaden Baugh, as you said, was a breakout freshman in his own right last year, and really didn't get talked about enough because of what DJ Lagway was doing. And him being the prize of that recruiting class. So, I just think Florida's in such a better place as a program for the first time in a long time. And I think they really found their identity the back half of last season and really just gained a whole lot of confidence as a team, as a coaching staff. And I think the fan base just gained a lot of confidence as well in the direction the program was going. Because, this was halfway through the year last year. Like Billy Napier was on the hot seat. It looked like this was going bad.
Right.
And for them to finish the way they did, ending the year at 8-5 was such a huge boost for them. A big boost into this offseason. And the roster's in a place now where any game they go into, we have a legitimate chance now. Like we're not overmatched like they have been in the past. Like you're going in, you look at every game on the schedule, and obviously they're not going to go undefeated, but they're looking at it from a talent perspective going, we can win any game on our schedule. And they can confidently say that for the first time in a while. So, very, very excited to see this Florida team, kind of a wild card in the SEC, and a brutal schedule again as they had a year ago. But offensively, they should be really effective, putting up some big numbers. And, you highlight it. Starts with the quarterback, the running back. Couple stats I wanted to kind of read off from Josh Pate's show. This was back several months ago when he was highlighting Florida. But returning over 5,000 snaps on the offensive line, that's ginormous for them. And then they had 20 underclassmen play 200 or more snaps. That was second most in the FBS. So a lot of young talent on this team, a lot of experience returning, projected around 15 starters returning. So, expecting big things for Florida this year. Tough schedule, but really excited to see what they can do. And I know the confidence is high around Gainesville.
Yeah, that's incredible. Over 5,000 snaps on the offensive line. That's about the best news you can hear offensively as a Florida fan or as a Florida coach. Now, defensively, they do have to replace a fair amount of big production, but a lot of their guys are returning as well. They didn't really add that much to the portal. It's a lot of homegrown talent, guys that they recruited, that they've built up and that they've built through their system. They do have a young front seven, so that could create some question marks or some problems up there. But they retain Ron Roberts at defensive coordinator, who later in the year, the back half of the season last year, he moved from off the field into the box, and he was the one calling the defense the whole time. He had full control of the defense. So being up in the box, it really changed the production on the defensive side of the ball. They were able to get pressure on quarterbacks later in the season, get some sacks. They were really wreaking havoc on a lot of the teams that were playing in the back half of the year last year. So the guys to watch out for, Tyreek Sapp, defensive end. You got some younger guys, George Gums at linebacker, L.J. McCray at linebacker, and then you got Caleb Banks at defensive tackle. And against LSU and Ole Miss last year, he really showed flashes of just greatness, along with Miles Graham. The same thing, young linebacker there in some games. He's just showed flashes of this guy's going to be legit. He's going to be great. He just couldn't consistently put it together last year. But if those guys can put it together this year consistently and dominate the way they did in a few of those games last year, it's going to build for the rest of that defense to build on those guys, for them to be their leaders, and the sky's the limit for this team. But looking at their schedule, like you said, that there's not a game that they really look at and say, man, there's no way we can win this game. And they have, according to, I can't remember exactly what the website was called. I believe it was ESPN, but I could be wrong on that. They have the number 1, and number 2 schedule in all of college football when it's talking about schedule toughness. And realistically, I think this team is built for it. That I go through, and really there's 3 games, that I think that they are just don't have the upper hand on, or that they're probably not going to be the favorites in if you look at it right now, and that's Texas at A&M and hosting Georgia. So they host Texas. I think they're going to lose that game. They go to Texas A&M. I think they lose that game. Those are back-to-back weeks. And then they host Georgia, and I think they lose that game. But then you look at teams like LSU, Miami, Ole Miss. Those games are toss-ups. The rest of them, I think they're going to win. I know a few weeks ago I said I give them the lean over Tennessee because they're at home, and Tennessee's got a lot of question marks. I think they're going to beat Florida State. Even if Florida State's 10 times better than they were last year, that's not saying a whole lot. I still think they're going to beat Florida State at the end of the year. So LIU you start off with, then you got USF. You get LSU week 3. Both teams are really still going to be working out their kinks, figuring out who they are, what their identity is as their football program. It is at LSU, but I have more confidence in this Florida team than I do LSU. We've talked about they got LSU's got to be more less one-dimensional. They got to be able to run the football. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, so I would give Florida the lean in that game. So that gives you another win right there. I don't know about the Miami game. I'm excited for that Miami game. It's at Miami. Carson Beck's going to be their quarterback. I'm really pumped for that game. I think that's the toss-up, but just for argument's sake, I'm going to give that a loss. So then that puts you, and I think that at the end of the year, they're going to be at Ole Miss. I like this roster better than I like Ole Miss's roster. They don't have 30 new guys that they're trying to figure each other out on this roster. So I'll give them that win. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 and 4. If I go off of this, of my toss-ups and wins and losses, that gives them 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 losses. So 8 and 4. Realistically, I think another one of those games could probably go in their favor in the Miami, Texas, A&M, and UGA or Georgia. I think in one of those 4 games, the ball is going to bounce their way, and they're probably going to come out victorious. Realistically, I think this Florida team is going to turn some heads, and I think they're going to go 9-3 this year. I really do. I think Florida's 9-3. I have a lot of faith in Lagway. This is all obviously if people stay healthy, and definitely if Lagway stays healthy. I think 9-3 realistically. I think 10-2 is the absolute ceiling. I find it hard to believe in those 4 games at Miami, Texas, A&M, and Georgia. I don't think that they're going to go 2-2 in those games. I think they go 1-3. Realistically, I think they do. So I think 9-3 is probably what you're looking at the end of the year with Florida, and I think that is an absolutely fantastic year.
Oh yeah.
Again, got to keep DJ Lagway healthy. I think the floor is 8-4. I really do. I think the ceiling's 10-2, but realistically, I'm looking at 9-3 for Florida this year.
Don't hate it, honestly. Don't hate it at all. I mean, I like this Florida team a lot. And I just think, and we've talked about this in the grand scheme of the SEC, like that. On paper, you've got probably Texas, Georgia, Alabama. You can maybe add a 4th team in there, LSU, or pick one. You can maybe add another team. But I think on paper, I would say those 3 are a little bit ahead of the pack. Now, I think there is a list of 6 or 7 teams that on any given Saturday could jump up and beat one of those teams.
Right.
100%. I don't think there's a team on here that's just going to pull away. But like I said, as we sit here late July, that's kind of how I view it. But, yeah, Florida is absolutely in that mix, in that kind of second tier of teams that I could see them being 4th. I could see them being 9th or 10th. Because I just think the margin is going to be so small between that group of teams from, say, 3 or 4 down to 10 or 11 in the SEC. But I don't hate it at all. I think looking at the schedule, I'd probably lean. I know you mentioned 8-4. That's probably where I'd go. The over under 7.5. So I'd lean slide over on that. which again would be a really solid season for them. I'm with you on the Miami game. Super excited from that. Honestly, didn't know it was week 4, which is an interesting place for it to be.
Yeah,
I thought it was week. Honestly, if you'd have asked me where it was, I thought it was week 2 again. But looking at the schedule, I was like, oh man, that's late September. Like that's after the LSU game, which is, like I said, an interesting place for it. I mean, obviously week 1, not to make a corny joke, but Florida, they're going to be sipping on a Long Island iced tea in the second half of that game. So it's going to be absolute bloodbath there in the swamp on August 30th. But yeah, I mean after that, obviously you got a pretty decent USF team. They're competitive a lot of times. And then man, I mean week 3, week 4, you're right into the meat of your schedule already. Going to Baton Rouge and going to Miami back to back, it's gonna be tough. And then obviously you get a bye, which they're gonna be thankful for after those. And then you mentioned the gauntlet with Texas at Texas A&M. Then the Georgia game after a bye. I mean, I'm finally excited that game. It always means something, but it last year's game was a little surprising because it was more competitive than people thought. But again, I never felt fully threatened for Georgia to have a chance to lose it. So right. I think this year, for the first time, probably since 2020, I believe since Florida won it last time, I'm pretty sure that's the last time they won that game. Yeah. I just feel really like it's just exciting that game's going to be competitive again, like it should be. So that's exciting. I'm ready for that. Party. Yeah, cocktail party. It's going to be fun, and I love it when that game means something, and both teams, are a top, 10 or 15 caliber teams, and just provide some extra juice for it. So I'm excited for that as well, and kind of to see where Florida is at that point. If they only have, say, 2 losses at that point, then you're going to be feeling really good if you're a Florida fan. So, because, I mean, honestly, you look at after that game, the Final Four sets up pretty nicely for you. I mean, definitely not going to be easy games going to Ole Miss or Tennessee, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of a step down from what you faced earlier on in the schedule. So, yeah, I would say if I had to put a number on it, I'd probably go 8-4. You could convince me 9-3 for sure. I'm like you. I think 10-2's max. But honestly, if you told me right now they went 7-5, I wouldn't be shocked at that either. Just because of the difficulty of the schedule and, like you mentioned, one of the top schedules in the country. So, I mean, you could convince me of several different, records or directions, but to me, it's not an indictment of the quality of the team because I think this is a top, 15 quality team in the country, and they could have 4 losses. It just shows you the depth of the SEC, and I think it's 10 or 11 deep easily. You can make a case they're playoff contenders, as we've talked about the last couple weeks.
100%. Do you think that Billy Napier has made the biggest jump from where he was viewed last year to where he's viewed this year in all of SEC coaches? I mean, of all 16 teams, because like you said, he was hot seat last year, and now there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, well, he could win 9-10 games this year. Realistically, there's a lot of people saying that, and of all the other coaches that are hot seat talkers from last year, not one of them has made that jump and that one complete 180 that he has. I think maybe in all of college football, but definitely in the SEC, I think he's done himself in the last 8 months. He's made the biggest turnaround for himself as a coach.
Yeah, for sure. Like within the media and within his own fan base, honestly.
Right.
I mean, it was like if the end of the season doesn't go the way it does, like he's probably out on his ass. Honestly, I mean, if they 100%. Don't go on a run there, like that was on the table for sure. So, I mean, it was like I mean, we forget like this is one of the hottest teams in the country at the end of the year. They got their doors blown off by Miami in week 2. I mean, the stadium's empty now. I mean, it is a bloodbath. And
I mean, I said on the podcast last year that he was going to he wasn't going to make it to Halloween. I
Yeah,
that he was not going to make it to Halloween.
It's yeah. I mean, what a crazy turnaround! Like from a media perspective, from the team's performance, from how he's viewed with his own fan base. Like you're not obviously you're seeing a lot of confidence now. So, or at least that's what I'm feeling and seeing from them. So, and they have every right to be the way they ended. Say like no joke, the way they were playing at the end of the year, like it was. They were probably a top 10 team by the end, like the way they were playing at the end of the year. But
them and South Carolina were the two hottest, in my opinion.
Yeah, like those are two teams you did not want to play down the stretch. And I mean, what a 180 from week 2 last year or week 1 whenever they played Miami. I mean, like I said, got their doors blown off. Like you're like, well, he's not long for Gainesville. Like it's going to get ugly quick, and it just shows a lot about him though. The fact that he kept those guys together and how they came together to salvage it and have a pretty productive season when it was all said and done. I mean, it could have easily, like most situations, would have went completely off the rails. And like for him to keep that together and for them fighting the way they did and playing the quality football at the end of the year after going through a lot of bumps early on in the season, it showed a lot about him and showed like what a hold and what like respect he has in that locker room and the quality of players that he has. So I mean, I was super happy for him. Like I was glad to see it, see him. I'm a Billy Napier fan, so yeah, wishing him success this year for sure. And I'd love to see him go 9-3 and have a real shot to make the playoffs. It's definitely on the table. And but yeah, I mean. You're dead on the money. I don't think anybody in the country has made up more ground just from a media perspective, from people inside the program. Which I don't think people inside the program obviously didn't doubt it because you saw the way they came together. But just from them handling all that outside noise and turning it into something positive was really impressive.
100%. And another team that's coach is definitely on the hot seat is Oklahoma. Going to cover them as well. I think that, there's a lot of question marks last year in the sense of were they really that bad of a team? Or was it the injury bug that was the whole reason that they were not able to compete? I think it was the injury bug for sure. I mean, 7 of your wide receivers out for pretty much the whole year. You had injuries up and down the offensive line. They gave up like 50-something sacks last year on the offensive line, which is horrendous. One of the worst offenses we've seen from Oklahoma the last 10, 15 years. Their offensive line got better as the year progressed and the end of the year because some of their guys were coming back from injury. But they should be better this year than they were last year, especially on the offensive line. You look at their wide receiver room, it's really different this year after of Deion Burks. He's pretty much the only guy that's returning. A lot of their guys left, even though they didn't play much last year. They left. So you got Javonte Gibson's coming in from Arkansas Pine Bluff. You got Jaden Gibson. He's still recovering from an injury. Deion Burks, they paid him pretty well through NIL and talked him to coming back in for another year. You got Jermichael Carter's coming in from McNeese. Josiah Martin's coming in from Cal. Elijah Thomas is a freshman that they're expecting to play early and make a big impact early. You got Isaiah Satenga from Arkansas. He is super fast, absolute burner. Ivan Carrion and Keontez Lewis from Southern Illinois. So they went and got some pieces out of the portal in the wide receiver room, which was necessary. And then you got Jade Knott in the backfield, who is a really, really good running back coming over from Cal. And then you got Javonte Barnes and Xavier Robinson. Javonte Barnes is probably going to be the 2-back behind Jade Knott. Jade Knott ran his mouth a little bit last year about the SEC, and then he comes and joins the SEC. I think that's pretty funny. He knows where the real ball players are, and he's going to be a big part of this Oklahoma team. And but the big story is John Mateer, pretty much the number 1 quarterback in the portal this past year. Coming over from Washington State, led the college football in passing touchdowns last year with 44. And also coming from Washington State is the offensive coordinator, Arbuckle. Jim Arbuckle. He's coming over as well. That's huge, having him, having the coordinator and the quarterback coming from the same school. Pretty much, you got two coaches there to help the team learn the offense. Venables is going to have the defense good like always. Not saying a whole lot. The defense was the bright spot of their team last year, which again they were 6-6. But really, their defense wasn't playing at the caliber of a 6-6 team. Their offense was just really, really, really bad. So I expect their offense to take plenty of steps forward. They went and got some guys in the transfer portal on the offensive line. Derek Simmons coming over from Western Carolina. They got Jake McCullough, who's coming over from Stanford, going to compete for the center job, but Troy Everett's probably going to win the center job. And then the guys, a name that you need to keep in mind, Michael Fasugi or Fagugi. I could be butchering his name, and I'm terribly sorry, but he's a true freshman that's come in, and in camp he's made a big splash. They're expecting him to potentially take over the starting role at left tackle, which is crazy to be playing the left tackle as a true freshman in the SEC. But competing with him there is Logan Howland. Then you got Jacob Sexton coming back, and Waiwu at right guard. I could be saying his name horribly wrong as well, and I'm terribly sorry. Apologies there if I'm butchering your last name. But they're, like I said, when the guys came back from injury last year, they got a lot better. Their offensive line should be a lot better. As much as I hate to say it, because the quarterback they had last year is Auburn's quarterback now, their quarterback play is going to be better. Their offense is going to run a little bit slower than it has the last few years. Not just tremendously slower, but Washington State is not a NASCAR-type offense like they were used to running. So it's going to be a little bit slower, but I think that they're going to be 10 times better on the offensive side of the football this year, which is great because I don't think they're going to lose too many steps on the defensive side of the ball. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to hear your thoughts on Mateer and the offense coming into this year.
Yeah, I mean that's really the whole key to this team and this program kind of turning it around from 24 to 25, and I like the moves they made bringing in Arbuckle with John Mateer from Washington State. I just think there's going to be a lot better. There's a lot better personnel, a lot better schematically. Like Seth Luttrell just did not work out. The offense was. It had to be one of the worst offenses Oklahoma's ever put on the gridiron. I mean,
I think they had three different play callers through 12 weeks.
Yeah, and to be honest, I know Michael Hawkins came in and had some success, but I thought they pulled Jackson Arnold too soon. Like, kind of looking back on it now, like, it was just it was a bad personnel situation, and Jackson Arnold's even kind of talked about it some too. He just lost confidence, and there there's been some talk too, and I think McElroy has kind of talked about this some. Like, it's a tough challenge playing quarterback for a defensive head coach because it's like it's always just drilled into you. Don't turn the football over. Don't turn the just don't make a mistake. And I think that causes you to play so scared and timid sometimes, and not wanting to just not wanting to mess up, and because that's the quickest thing that gets you pulled usually with a defensive head coach, and for any coach really is just turn the ball over. If you're turning the ball over at a high level, like you can't be out there, and I think that hurt him a lot. And not to get an Auburn preview, but you've heard Hugh Freeze talk about how they've needed to build his confidence back.
Right.
And so I don't think that's going to be a problem now with John Mateer coming in. This is an offensive system he knows extremely well. The personnel's going to be a lot better because they're probably not going to have 5 wide receivers out at one time and multiple offensive linemen, and it was an all around bad situation from the play caller, the coordinator, the scheme, just the production, the injury bug. It just didn't work at all, and I think it's multiple factors that led to them being that poor offensively. So depending on how well they turn that around is going to be the whole key to their season, because I don't see any reason on paper. I like the fact, too, that Brent Venables is taking over the play calling duties defensively. Like, that's in his wheelhouse. Like, mean, that's why he got this job, because of how good of a defensive mind he is. He's one of the best defensive minds in college football, and like his success being a great defensive coordinator and a great defensive play caller is why he got this opportunity. So to me, it's saying, hey, if we're going down because of me. Like, I'm not delegating it to somebody else. Like if this doesn't work out, it's going to be on me. And I like that he's doing that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this offense gels together. And if they can, be an effective offense again, then I think they got a chance to really surprise people and be a lot higher than people think, because their over-under is only at 6.5 right now. So, which I mean is understandable. They went 6-7 last year, but I think the opportunity is there for them to be better than that. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be a top 10 or 15 defense in the country. I think the pieces are there, the continuity with the staff's there. But yeah, it's gonna be on John Mateer, this offensive staff, and Jay Knott, the personnel they brought in. I like the Satinga move from Arkansas coming over to Oklahoma. Obviously, Arkansas wasn't a big passing offense, but he was productive there, and was a starter and was like I said, a very productive player. So I like that move. Deion Burks, hopefully he can be healthy this year for a full season. But I really like a lot of the moves they made and some of the pieces they have, and I'm really, really curious to see how this offense comes together. And if they're what people think they can be, I definitely think they have a chance to surprise folks.
100%. And then on the defense side of the ball, you're losing Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, and Ethan Downs. Those were the three biggest names on the defense side of the ball. They were the three leaders. But you're replacing them with Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, Kendall Daniels, Kendall Dolby. So you got some guys that have played, but they haven't played as much as Stutzman and Bowman and Downs. But they've been there. They've been in the system. They understand what it takes. They understand the standard. And their defensive front, though, they got David Stone, Dominique Williams, who entered the portal quickly and after fall or after spring, but they were able to keep him, which was a big win for them. You got Jaden Jackson, who was a freshman All-American last year at defensive tackle as well, and then Grayson Halton. Those four names I just named, those are a key to their defensive success this year, especially up front. And then you got PJ Adebawari at defensive end, Mason Thomas at defensive end, and Marvin Jones at defensive end. Marvin Jones, you might remember from Georgia and Florida State the last few years. Their defensive front, they stack some talent, and then their linebacking core, they're young, but they're fairly experienced. So, like you said, with Venables taking over play calling duties, I don't think that this defense is going to take too much of a step back. I think they'll probably be just on par with last year, maybe a little better. But I look at their I look at their schedule, and they go back-to-back games on the road at Tennessee and at Alabama. There is a bye week in between there, but still they're back-to-back games on the road. I look at their schedule, and I got 5 games that I'm considering toss-up games. I got 4 games that I think are straight-up losses for them. There's 3 games that I think are wins. So the games that I think are losses are Texas, South Carolina, Bama, and Missouri. I really like those teams. I like their rosters better than I like Oklahoma's roster. Their production last year was better than Oklahoma's production last year. I know it's a new season, but I think those four games I'm chalking up for losses for them. Michigan, I got a toss-up. Auburn, I got a toss-up. Ole Miss, I got a toss-up. Tennessee, I got a toss-up. LSU, I got a toss-up. Now, I don't think they're going to lose all those games. So I'll give them the W against Michigan early, because I don't really know what Michigan's about. I'll give them the W against Auburn. They were able to pull it out last year, and they were an atrocious team. I'll give them the W against them. I'm gonna say they probably lose to Ole Miss. I like Lane Kiffin. I think he's going to be able to pull some of them out that we don't expect him to. I think they lose to Ole Miss, even though they're going to Neyland, I'll give them that W. And I'm going to give them a loss against LSU. I think by the end of the year, LSU is going to have it figured out. I think they're a little bit better roster-wise than Oklahoma is. So if that's the case, I got them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got them at 6 wins. I think I'm wrong there. I think they realistically go 7-5, 8-4. If I'm putting money on it, their win total's at 6.5. I think they go over. I think they win 7 games. I think they're 7-5. I think product on the field is way better than last year, but record-wise, I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference. I think ceiling 9-3. I really don't see them getting to 9 wins. I find it hard to see them getting to 8 wins. Again, product on the field way better than 2024. Record-wise, probably only a game better. I got them going 7-5 realistically.
Yeah, I think I've been probably slightly higher than some on Oklahoma. I do like the over, like you mentioned, 6.5. I'm gonna go out on a little bit of a limb. I'm gonna say 8-4 for them. I'm gonna lean up there a little bit. I'll put a take out there. Might as well in late July. I like them 5-0 going in that Texas game. I think they win their first 5. Although, like I said, Michigan, Auburn are toss-ups. I lean Oklahoma a little bit just for the fact that it's at home. I do think the early.
I got them 5-0 right here. I got them 5-0 in that as well.
I think the early schedule sets up pretty well for them. Like I said, definitely toss-up games. They're going to be, 3 or 4 point spreads probably. But like I said, with it being in Norman, I'll lean their direction. I think that the game against Texas is going to be super interesting. That South Carolina game's definitely tricky. Not only is South Carolina a really good team, but right after that emotional Texas game, that's a tough turnaround for sure. Those are the ones you have to look out for. I think they lose that game at South Carolina, win or lose against Texas. I like South Carolina there, so I think they get refocused for Ole Miss. So I'm kind of leaning another toss-up, but it's in Norman. I'm gonna lean Oklahoma, and then I think they find a way to get 2 of those last 4 between Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU.
I just don't think there's any way Alabama's losing to them back-to-back years, especially after the absolute lack of offense they had last year.
Yeah,
Milroe's probably worst game of his career, honestly. Threw 2 picks, a pick 6 to really seal the deal. Maybe 3 picks. One of them was kind of hit or whatever. So I'll say he threw 2 legit picks. But they couldn't do anything. They couldn't run the ball. They were on him all night. I just don't think that's going to happen to Alabama 2 years in a row. So I don't think they're winning that Alabama game. And then the Missouri LSU game. Both of those games are. Honestly, they're toss-ups. I just think both of those rosters are better than Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, I think those are all legitimately. I'm with you on the Alabama one. I don't think. I mean, it's going to be a competitive game. I'm like them going into Tuscaloosa after what happened a year ago. I wouldn't probably put that at super high odds right now, but I think the other 3 are pretty toss-ups. I mean, LSU, with it being at home, makes me feel a little more comfortable than at Tennessee. I don't know exactly what Tennessee's going to be. I know they're going to be solid, but at that point in the year, I'm a lot of question marks for them at the moment. So I think those are winnable games. And it's probably not going to work out like this. They're probably going to lose one that they probably should win. They may win one that we chalked up as a loss, but. I think I'm gonna lean 8-4. Like I said, I think 9-3 is probably max. So I've got them probably closer to maxing out than maybe what some pundits have. I think, or maybe what the Vegas line has them at over under wise. But yeah, like you said, though, the product's gonna be much better on the field, and if this offense can reach their potential, with the personnel they have on paper, and they gel with John Mateer, and like I said, his offensive coordinator coming with him is just ginormous for him to feel comfort. And I thought it was really big too. They retained Michael Hawkins. With John Mateer coming in, like having depth at the quarterback position is so important. So the fact that he did get some big experience last year as a true freshman, so keeping him as well, I thought was really critical too. So I'm really really intrigued by this Oklahoma team to see if they can turn it around, because like I said, that Oklahoma offense a year ago was one of the worst we've seen, and I don't know how long, but I imagine it's been quite a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, they still found a way to win some games that they were completely out of, or that nobody expected them to be competing in. Out of the Auburn game, they were out, they were beaten, and they found a way to come back. Defense helped them for sure in that, but they found a way to come back. You go look at the Alabama game. Defense played a major part in that game, and their offense ran the ball extremely well. They relied on Arnold a lot, but I mean, they found ways. They found different ways to do it. They just couldn't stay consistent. I mean, they beat Alabama, and they turn around the next week, and they only put up 13 on LSU, and LSU hangs 37 on them or something like that. Like, they get blown out by LSU a week after they beat Alabama. That was vying for. They win that game, they're in the playoffs. Alabama is. So they beat that team, and they turn around and they lose to LSU, who was running on fumes at that time. So they just weren't very consistent. I expect them to be more consistent this year for sure. And again, their product is for sure going to be better. Now, Cam, got a question for you. If I'm right and they do go 7-5, that's one game better. Is Venables gone, or do they look at the product on the field and say, look, this is not a bad football team. We're just in the toughest conference in America. There's so many teams that are like you said, the 4 through 16 really, or 4 through 11 really is any man's ball game any Saturday, any given Saturday, anything can happen. If they go 7-5, but you can clearly see that the product is better on field, does he get another year, or is he canned and they're going after somebody else?
I think in that case he gets another year, because
Okay.
I think too, like I could be dead wrong about this, but like he signed an extension pretty recently, and I think it's gonna be them being pretty bad for him to get canned in my
Like
opinion.
a repeat of last year, essentially.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have to be that, or like the offense is just absolutely awful again, or what, you know what I mean? Like you said, if they're 7-5, but it's like legitimately this is like a top 20 team. The offense looks much better. Like the defense is still good. Like you're 7-5, you got 3 or 4 really close losses, could win either way, which is very likely with how competitive the SEC is going to be.
Right.
So yeah, I think under that circumstance, I mean, it depends on what happens, but I think it would take a repeat of like another really bad, which I know 7-5 is not much of an improvement win-loss wise, but I think there's a real chance they could be 7-5 and be a good bit better, but the win-loss column may not show it as much. But I think it would have to be pretty bad, honestly, for them to run him off. Honestly, I mean, I think if they show good improvement on the field, like I said, the offense looks much better. I don't think he's going to get fired. Which obviously I predicted him 8-4, so I don't think he's going to be fired. But
Right.
I don't think, unless it gets real bad, I don't think they're going to pony up at this time. But OU's used to winning though, so like they're not gonna put up with mediocre product for too long. But if I had to say, like I think they're gonna be a good enough product where he's gonna stick around.
I was about to say the exact same thing. He's at Oklahoma, and they're used to 9 minimum. 9's a bad year, but they're also not in the Big 12 anymore. So fans are going to have to, change their expectations, because number one, college football is different now. A lot more parity. Yeah. You're in a different conference, a much better conference than the Big 12. There's 16 teams in this conference, and like we've talked about the last few episodes, 9-3 is the new 10-2. 10-2 is the new 11-1. Like you have got, and I like you were talking about Josh Pate. Josh Pate and Cole Kublik talked about this when they spoke at SEC Media Days. They're like, I don't think everybody understands that our expectations have to change, because this is not the college football of old. This is not the SEC of old. 10-2 is not going to be as common as it was. Bama's not going to go 10-2 every year. Georgia's not going to go 10-2 every year. That's not as common. Clemson not going to go 10-2 every year. It's the expectations and the reality of college football in our minds has got to change. For us, for me, you and I believe that it has. And I think the people that tune into this podcast and that listen to what we have to say, I think they agree with us as well, because we've harped on it, and then it's the last 3 years we've seen nothing but that proof. Especially now that the conference has grown and the new playoff format is in here, it is so much different. And then potentially with an extra game being added in conference, there's potential that could happen. So it's just your expectations for college football, not only for the SEC, but for college football as a whole, the record expectations has to change. Straight up, we're telling you that it's going to. Just be ready for it. The next few years, you're going to look back and say, yeah, that 100%, everybody that was saying that was right. That is Cole Kubelik and Josh Pate were saying that a few weeks ago. And, we're basically echoing what we've been saying the last few weeks. And I think that is 100% correct. 9-3 is the new 10-2, and that's going to be the goal that everybody's reaching for is 9-3, and that's what's going to get you in Atlanta and things along those lines.
I think you have to, like you said, I think you have to adjust it down a game, basically. Like right. I think 11-1's the new 12-0, and 10-2's the new 11-1, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And don't even for the folks listening, don't even take our word for it. 10-2 won the league last year.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not us just saying that. That was the actual results last year. A 10-2 Georgia team. Yeah, a 10-2 team in the regular season won the SEC, and like I said, got beat in the quarterfinals by Notre Dame. So we're saying this, and a lot of other people are saying it too. But you only have to take our word for it. Like the results already there from 2024, and I think just looking at it on paper again, I think 2025 is probably going to be similar. I'll pose a question to you, and I think I probably already know your answer, but it's one of the questions that they posed in their conversation is: Do you think a similar quality of team is going to win the league again this year? Do you think it's going to be in that 10-2 range again?
Yes,
kind of like a year ago.
I really do. And then you also look Ohio State 10-2 in the regular season, won the Natty. I think that it is going to be hard pressed for any team this season or the next 5-6 years or in the near future, unless something changes drastically. It is going to be very hard pressed for teams to roll out a one-loss season or a no-loss season. I just don't see that 2021 Georgia, not happening. 2019 LSU, not happening. 2010 Auburn, not happening. It's just hard-pressed for teams to come out and only have one blemish on their record. I just don't see that happening. Teams are going to catch fire for sure, just like Ohio State did last year. They caught fire in the playoffs, and then they were clearly the number one team. But yes, 100%. In every conference, all the big major conferences, I think that it's going to be 10-2 is going to be your champion. Every once in a while, we might get an 11-1. There's going to be an anomaly here and there, but I think 10-2 is what you're going to expect to be good enough to win the conference and to get you to Atlanta. So. And
a lot of these teams are playing, big time non-conference games too. Yeah, so it's not just the SEC schedule, but there's quite a few SEC teams that are playing two big Power 5 games out of conference. So, that's something to factor in as well. It's not just the SEC schedule, but you've got one or two, potential losses in your non-conference schedule just based on the way you're scheduling. So. You're going to have your teams like last year's Indiana that have kind of come out of nowhere, have weak schedules, and like their record's going to be inflated. Like they're going to be 12-0, 11-1. But like as far as teams in the SEC doing that now, like it's going to take a really special. Like I just think at least for the foreseeable future, not saying it's never going to happen again, but like your 2020 Alabama, your 2019 LSU, like your 2010 Auburn who went undefeated, like those kind of seasons are a thing of the past more than likely. Like, not to say it couldn't happen, like anything can happen, but I think for the foreseeable future, the way it's currently constructed, it's going to take like a super
Right.
special team, and with the way portal and NIL is, it's going to be really hard to put that kind of team together and keep it all, as one. So I just think, at least for the foreseeable future, like that's a thing of the past. Like I said, I think you kind of have to recalibrate your expectations almost like you do in the NFL. Like, because you like in a 17-game season, I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're the Eagles, the Chiefs, or whoever. They're not going 17-0. Like,
You're going to drop a game or two. It ain't been done since 72, 73, whatever the Dolphins team was. That there's a reason for that.
yeah, like I mean, you're not. You almost have to have an NFL like mindset now. It's like obviously every game matters, but it's like you want to make sure to be playing your best football at the right time, which is important every year because the championships played in December and January. But I think it's even more important now to be peaking at the right time, and
Right.
it's like, hey, if we just get in, like, hey, if we get in, we're get hot at the right time. Like, it wasn't a question of Ohio State getting in last year. Like, they got in there comfortably, but it's like you knew in the back of your mind, you knew how talented that team was, and they had a couple of blemishes, and to me, it just fueled them that much more. And it's like, okay, we see what our weaknesses are, we see what our deficiencies are. Like, they've been exposed to us. Now we can fix them. And, hey, we're in this thing. Like, it's a clean slate again. It's a 12-team playoff. Everybody's on a level playing field. Like, let's get hot and go win it because we know we got the talent to. And it's exactly what happened. And, I think you're going to see, that happen more and more often where a team, maybe they figure some things out and have some blemishes during the year, but they figure it out and get hot at that right time and end up winning the whole thing. And, like, I mean, if Florida would have been a little bit better earlier, they could have been something similar to that, the way they were playing at the end of the year. Like, if they wouldn't have lost 4 or 5 games, then it would have been 2, So, I mean, that's obviously they weren't going to make the playoffs, but, you kind of get the example.
You're adding 2, if you're going all the way to the championship, you're adding 2 extra games. And then you look at 2019 LSU. They had a close call against Auburn, only won by 3. You look at 2021 Georgia. I could be wrong on the year. 21 or 22. Bout dropped a game to Missouri. Then you look in the playoffs in 22. They had to rely on a missed field goal from Ohio State to continue on to the championship game. Georgia did. So you're adding extra games. It's even harder for teams. It's already hard for teams to go undefeated, and they're having to have things go their way. But you're asking them to go their way for 2 more games. It's just not realistic. Not realistic at all. So yes, 10-2 is the new dominance in the conference. No matter what conference you're part of, like you said, you'll have the Indianas that play nobody or the Liberties that play nobody. But I think strength of schedule is going to be factored in at a more important rate. More weight put on the strength of schedule now than in what it has been in the past. So I think that's going to be beneficial. But I also stand my ground on what I said last year. Realistically, 9, 10, 11, 12, probably not going to win the national championship. They might win a game, maybe 2. Probably not going to win a national championship. We're probably not going to see that happen, but maybe once every 10 years. I just don't think realistically 9 through 12 has a reasonable shot to beat 1 through 8. It could happen, but I don't think it is. And in the 9 through 12s, there's going to be the teams that are playing the softer schedules that have 1 loss or no loss, but then they run into the teams that are playing the the tougher strength of schedules, and then that's where you're going to find out who actually the better football team is.
I agree, especially now that they're going to the straight seeding. I think that,
right.
Like last year, what was Ohio? Were they seeded 8th? Was that right? In the seeding?
7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, because I think they played the.
They were 6. Tennessee was 7.
Okay. Well, because I know Oregon was the 1 seed, and they played them in the quarterfinals. So I think they were seeded 8th, weren't they? Because they played. It was Ohio State, Tennessee 8-9 game, the first round.
According to what I'm looking at here, it says they were 6.
Okay.
But that could be just their straight up ranking and not their playoff ranking.
I think it was. I think they were ranked 6th, seeded 8th. I believe.
I got you.
If that's right. So the reason I say that is because I know they obviously beat Tennessee's brakes off in the first round, and they played Oregon next, and they were the 1 seed. I think that's right. I think they were 6th in the ranking. That was a little confusing for everybody too, because you had the rankings and then the seeding was different, and I like it. I'm so glad that they're going to the straight set and reseeding it once they have the 12. I just think that makes sense, and to your point, that's going to make it that much harder for like a 9 through 12 to win it now. Right. Now that they're reseeding after we have the field, so no, I like that much better. I agree with that totally. But yeah, it's just SEC fans, college football fans as a whole. I just kind of recalibrate your expectations a little bit and just know that. I mean, look how many changes we went through in the last. Since we've been doing this podcast, we've been doing this since the 2021 season, and I mean it's changed a bunch since then. So, and even more if you go back a few years before that. So, yeah, it's just recalibrate your expectations a little bit, just based on the climate we're in nowadays. And but all in all, it's going to be really, really excited, and just kind of wrapping it up with these two teams. I'm really intrigued with both of these teams to see kind of how they, in Oklahoma's case, how they kind of right the ship offensively, kind of getting back on track and talent-wise to where they can be. And then Florida, see if they can build on that momentum they ended the year with. And I think these are two wild cards in the SEC, and they're going to be really fun to watch because they've got they're going to get tested early and often. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hope they're enjoying the preview so far. Just be sure to like and subscribe the channel on YouTube. And as you mentioned earlier, we're on a new podcasting software now, and I'm almost excited about that as I am the upcoming season. So I'm very excited to be on this. I think it's going to be a much better product for the people watching and listening. And then be sure to follow us on TikTok. I know you've been handling a lot of the clips on there and been getting a lot of traffic on that, so we really appreciate that. Same thing on Twitter. You can follow us at Saturdays_SEC. And then now with this new software, we're going back. We'll be on YouTube and Spotify, maybe more, but at least those two, which are kind of
video.
I feel like, so I feel like those are, I would say today, kind of the two biggest platforms for people listening and watching podcasts. So we'll definitely be on those two, maybe more, and excited about that. So just be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review if you like, or a comment. We love hearing from you, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.